being self-aware, knowing or not, okay, who's thinking that thought? What is thinking that thought? And coming to the realization that in those moments of asking those questions and not believing every thought that comes to mind, that we're able to recognize that I am not that thing, that identity that I have come up with, or that label, that role. Hi, it's Josephine. I felt compelled to jump on and share some insights with you that I gained from the time in meditation this morning. And the moment I had the inspiration to do that, I even realized how there was some inner dialogue that wanted to talk me out of risking vulnerability. You know, that's something that does happen. And that we talk ourselves out of something that comes from, the heart, a higher place in our consciousness, our awareness, or a higher vibration, the divine, whatever word works for you. But anyway, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was that realization about how we get so caught up in our story that we think we are that. And just to kind of give an example and clarify, it's like I think about a conversation I had with someone a while ago, and in our conversation, a vulnerable moment was hearing him say, yeah, if I didn't have the job that I have, I wouldn't know who I am. And that's really interesting because we really do that with a lot of our different stories. And we know that we're actually identifying as the story when we say, I am this or I am that, It could be things like, I am tall, I am short, I'm not smart, I am highly intelligent. And it's not about the labels being right or wrong or what should be more positive or not as positive, so forth. It's more about being self-aware, knowing or not, okay, who's thinking that thought? What is thinking that thought? And coming to the realization that in those moments of asking those questions and not believing every thought that comes to mind, that we're able to recognize that I am not that thing, that identity that I have come up with, or that label, that role. And so if that role or whatever it is changes, we don't feel lost. We don't feel like we are no longer of value. So it's learning to take that process, which is so important to me. I have really increased my intention to just know that difference, to increase that sense of self-awareness, and share as I'm compelled to share. So I wrote some things down. I'm going to read it, and then we'll kind of go from there. The story that I said I was a problem to be fixed cannot be anymore, because I see I am not that story. I am the presence of conscious energy, aware of itself, expanding with the joy of these various patterns created by the existence of emulating a singular self as a personality in order to create through preference that arises out of the diversity of variable and a variety of vibrational frequency patterns that make up all that is, including myself. I am eternally conscious, expanding superconsciousness in joyful collaboration with itself as a blend of consciousnesses, of lifetimes, of beingness, of every variety and form. This, of course, goes beyond the capacity of our human condition to embody as a knowing or awareness. Yet the human aspect of ourselves, of myself, and all other vibrational frequency patterns that make up all that is, that we know as our world and beyond, are all a part and necessary to our eternalness that always is and will be, ever expanding in every respect. You know, it's interesting that as that came to me, and then even in the process of translating this block of energy, blocks of thought into a language, into the action aspect of writing and putting this into words, I could sense the variation in frequencies between the mind-body self, the human personality consciousness, and the broader aspect, self-consciousness is like there's, you know, this blend of many lifetimes that also created this personality that I identify with, label as Josephine or Josephina. And the ability to sense, to feel that which I call myself, me, Josephine, the mind-body, energetic interpreter of the broader wholeness of the whole of me, and yet not the whole thing, because there's so much more vastness that goes beyond what we observe with our human senses. And I find the value from merging and being aware of both aspects of being. You know, being human isn't a punishment, and it isn't to force a separate human condition to raise consciousness in the sense of it's less than or devalued. We are a beautiful translating mechanism deliberately intended to experience a sense of singularity, individualism, all as a part of this beautiful process of joyfully expanding, becoming more. And that can only happen through these energies being experienced as individuated, even though from broader unifying consciousness, which is a merge of all the consciousness that had been created and continues to expand collectively but they were like a cooperative soup. And that might be hard to get the human mind around, and which is okay. We're not supposed to. And so it's beautiful to be able to remember that, because then when things change in life, we don't have to get so caught up in the story thinking that that's it. And in the moments that we notice ourselves involved in stories or involved in something that we call a trigger, which just means the energy pattern that we didn't allow to flow so that we could more effortlessly, which is more quote unquote normal to our innate wholeness of self, expand to whatever patterns and preferences that this personality self helped to discern to become, that added in the expansion in this very process of being. Regardless of when we call different experiences good or bad or neutral or negative or positive, there are variables of energy patterns that all serve. We don't have to defeat or get over the ego mind, but understand its role in the bigger picture, so that all aspects of ourself, we allow ourselves to be a cooperative component within our own energy pattern identified as the human self, which innately, automatically, energetically, even if we can't feel it in the immediate resonance of our own being or through our human senses, adds to the expansion, the positive, beautiful, desirable expansion of this unifying field that is being for us and through us and with us. Just taking that in, just sensing it. Is the beauty of and the power, not the kind of power that's like been misperceived in our human context of control, but power of as in feeling the natural freedom and energy flow that we are. The being in love with life as the energy form and super consciousness that we are, that being in love with life is what created each and everything, and each and every hair on the head, and each and every particle, and each and every atom and cell of the being, and of the chair, and of the walls, and of the birds, and of the animals, and of the grass, and the air. Being in love with our aliveness. I'm glad that you had an opportunity to join me whenever that moment may have arose for you. Blessings and namaste, my friends.